Guys, what is the hardest thing to explain to women? Story 1. That just because I'm quiet in your presence doesn't mean I'm upset. Just means I'm either tired, don't have anything to say, or I'm thinking about something. I'm so comfortable around you that I'm not scared of silence. I think most everyone has had some moment when they were just rambling on because they weren't comfortable with the conversation going silent. But once you're comfortable with someone, you shouldn't feel that need to fill the void. My ex would ask, "Are you pissy?" instead of "Is something wrong?" That's just fishing for a fight. Story 2. That sometimes we need personal space, and it has nothing to do with our opinion of you. When I get home from work, I've been talking to people for 8 hours straight. I just want time to decompress. Let my brain do nothing. My partner has been on her own all day, and she's desperate for someone to talk to. It causes real problems. I have the exact same issue with my girlfriend, just in reverse. I'm usually the more extroverted one between the two of us, and I work mostly by myself all day. I'm not totally isolated, I can find people to talk to, but I'm the sole shipping receiving person of a pretty small company. She is a teller at a major bank, it rhymes with Fells Wargo, and has to talk with customers all day every day. By the time I get off work and am there to pick her up, I'm desperate for a conversation with my best friend. But she is socially burned out from the workday and just wants to relax. I completely understand her POV, and she understands mine. But just because we get where the other is coming from, doesn't mean the problem is gone. Story 3. After chatting with one of my friends for 10 minutes on the phone, we really were talking only about his car. No, I don't know if his GF is in town. No, I don't know if his mom is fine or if she is alive. I have no idea if his job is good or bad. No, I didn't ask that. Why would I ask that? I only know a little more about his car, and that's really it. I have an annual trip with the same 5 other dudes that have been going for 23 years now. We all live in different cities, and every year we meet up for a long weekend. I know most of their wives' names, I know how many kids some of them have, and I know some of their kids' approximate ages, but I don't know all that information for all 5 guys. I couldn't tell you what Paul does for a living, something with software development, I think. Rory has 2 kids, definitely a son, but maybe a daughter. My wife is baffled by this. It simply doesn't come up. We talk about video games, beer, the pasta sauce John makes each year, etc. Important stuff, you know? Story 4. That I'm not responsible for what I do in your dreams. That is not actually me, so why are you so mad at me? An initial reaction after waking up is not unreasonable. It can take your brain a bit to be convinced it really was a dream. But holding a grudge all day about it? That's just nuts. At best, it's magical thinking of the, well, if I dreamed it, I must have reason to suspect variety. People in my life show up in my dreams. I always tell them, because I don't want to be hanging on to the subconscious hostility I know I'll have or not mention. I'm basically looking for them to say, and if they didn't know what to say, I'll prompt them, that they would of course never punt my dog because A, it's wrong, and B, it would upset me. I know they didn't really do the things, but it really helps to tell them and have them tell me they would never do the things. Story 5. That is, I don't know how to fix everything. I just have an inherent understanding of how things physically interact, and my monkey brain is good at workarounds. I'm no genius, I was just left alone a lot as a kid. Somehow everyone I know thinks that I am some sort of tech wizard who can fix their tech problems by snipping my fingers. Yeah, I do know a thing or two about computers, but most of the time I'll either guess based on what I know does what in a PC or Google the problem, especially when it's Apple, which I have no idea about. Why is nobody able to just Google their problems? Story 6. Just ask me the question you want the answer to, not the question that should lead me to know the question you want the answer to. I think this might partly be a socialization issue. I find a lot of older women take direct questions as rude and will pad everything in several layers of roundabout hinting. It gets passed down to the next few generations after. I had to teach my family that saying no wasn't a declaration of anger. My current partner was so used to his ex's non-questions that for the first year we dated, he kept panicking when I'd ask a quick question or answer directly, thinking I was upset. Story 7. We need acts of sporadic romance as well. Whether it's a box of candy for no reason, flowers, etc. If you like the way you feel when they happen to you, 9 times out of 10, we would as well. This was my whole last relationship. Treated me like crap, then did everything in her power to make up for it. And the cycle continued until my self-esteem inevitably hit rock bottom, and the cognitive dissonance between someone telling me they loved me, then treating me like Satan himself had me going mad. I just want to be romanced without it being predicated on me getting hurt first. Story 8. Expressing emotions in a way that is deemed acceptable. Finding the balance between being strong and steady while also being open and vulnerable at the same time. especially when expressing emotions wasn't encouraged or accepted growing up. It's not that I don't feel or want to share emotions. It's more that the how and when to express them can feel complicated, especially when people are trying to pry you open, repeatedly demanding you to tell them how you feel at that exact moment. Your first paragraph sums up a huge dilemma I carried for 25 years. To add to expressing emotions wasn't encouraged or accepted growing up, I didn't learn any of it because I didn't see it at home growing up. And now I'm finally learning relationship basics that my wife needs from me. My wife loves and encourages me and gives me the feedback to know when I present things correctly. It's hard to learn at my stage in life, but she deserves more and better than what I was giving for most of our marriage. Story 9. Half my fights with my fiance happen because she says something that is definitively untrue. I correct her. And somehow in the course of the argument, she will reiterate my original position, but present like it was her idea. Then we're no longer fighting about X. We are fighting about whether she meant X, which is a narrative she can control. I think it's a deflection tactic. I try to explain that meaning something different than what you said is the fault of the person explaining for failing to communicate in a healthy manner. And it is not unfair to hold her accountable for things she said, even if afterward she claims not to have meant them. Even after that, sometimes she gets mad that I'm telling her what she meant. She'll say, "You don't get to decide my intentions for me." I'm not. I'm trying to get you to be accountable for lying and blustering. Like, you were wrong in a completely innocent way. It wasn't a big deal, and then you made it the biggest deal you could, rather than just admit it. It just confuses me. Story 10. I will eat anywhere. That is why I have to ask you where you want to eat, because you are more picky than me, even if you say, "I don't care." By the way, this is after I've picked the last couple times, because she keeps saying I don't care, even though she's turned down my first couple choices. I don't play games with what to eat for dinner. Tell me something specific to cook or order, and I will. If not, then I'm throwing together leftovers from the fridge. If you don't want what I'm having and you haven't made any requests in advance, that's totally fine, but it means you're on your own to cook or order something for yourself. Story 11. It's hard to explain that it feels like my worth is directly tied to what I can provide and compared to what other guys can provide. I have little dating and relationship experience, but I have gotten this vibe every single time. So, as a woman, I would like to be dating someone that can live comfortably on their own. I would prefer not to date someone that is living paycheck to paycheck. But there are plenty of guys out there that think having money means they can dictate more of your life for you. And I'm not attracted to that. So it's not like I'm going to find myself the richest guy and try to ensnare him or always leave myself the opportunity to leave for someone better. My ex had an insecurity that I would leave him for someone better. Instead of becoming better, he just gave up. I didn't leave him for somebody else. But without him in the picture anymore, I was able to see that there was someone better for me already in my life. I bet he probably thinks I wanted to leave him for this other person the whole time, and he's free to think that if it makes him feel better. It's very unattractive to me if you're not striving to be a better person each day. Story 12. Take what we say at face value. There is no hidden meaning. There is no ulterior motive. We mean exactly what we say. The moment you say, "What does that mean?" in an accusatory tone, we are now on the defense and put in an uncomfortable position. Don't overcomplicate it, please. I agree with the 30 plus other comments I've seen so far, but this is the one I wish more people understood. I've been with my wife for over 20 years, and I still have to explain to her that there isn't some deep hidden meaning in my statements. Obviously, my tone may carry a message, and there can be subtext, but you won't divine some unknown secret of how I truly feel. I assume that most people who operate this way do so because of one of two reasons. They do it themselves for whatever reason, so they assume others do it too. If you ask them what's wrong and they say nothing, then get mad later because you're supposed to ask 3 times to get the real answer. They assume everyone else is like them, including you. They were mistreated or abused by someone who behaved this way. They took what a previous spouse or parent said at face value and got punished for it later in some way. Also, women often just can't comprehend that men are as simple as many of us are. It's like a multiple choice test question where A seems so simple that you decide it's just there to throw you off. So you select a more complex looking answer and get it wrong. Story 13. We don't talk or vent about problems as much because it's tiring and mentally draining to do so. It's like reliving the thing that upset me all over again, and I'm away from the situation. That's the best healing I can ask for. Unfortunately, your venting has the same effect on me. Knowing you had a situation you couldn't do anything about but vent frustrates me because I hate feeling helpless. Story 14. We don't talk or vent about problems as much because it's tiring and mentally draining to do so. It's like reliving the thing that upset me all over again, and I'm away from the situation. That's the best healing I can ask for. Unfortunately, your venting has the same effect on me. Knowing you had a situation you couldn't do anything about but vent frustrates me because I hate feeling helpless. Story 15. I'm waiting for a guy to say that men do not sit around and analyze every single aspect of a conversation or comment. So the crap where women worry about what they really meant is useless. Sometimes guys just say exactly what they mean. Sometimes they think about nothing. Sometimes when they look upset, they're wondering if Godzilla really could kick King Kong's butt. And finally, how many times a day they think about being intimate. Hint, take the number you have in your head and multiply by about 20. I'm female, so sorry, but I'm older and married, so lots of experience with how guys think. Story 16. By far how teams are supposed to work, specifically when it comes to household chores. Each person on a team should own a specific scope of responsibilities. One person owns dishes and laundry, the other person owns cooking and scrubbing the toilet. Or whatever, that's just an example. The point is, each person is responsible for the chores they own. Neither person has to worry about the other person's chores unless asked. All the chores get done. No one feels taken advantage of. This is how every company, every sports team, every halfway functional organization around the world operates. Okay. According to women, however, this division of responsibilities should not be necessary. Both people should be responsible for everything, and it should automatically work out to a 50-50 split. When this turns out not to work, it's because men are lazy and immature and so forth. Of course, when a woman goes to work, does she putter around the office and do whatever she sees needs doing immediately? Of course not, because that's not how teams work. So they do understand the concept on some level. Not sure what the disconnect is. Story 17. I don't want to share my feelings with you, and even if I do, I want you to listen, not to talk or analyze things. I have my own system for dealing with stuff in my life. I usually take some alone time, process events, and then put them away, where they only come out for related reasons. This isn't true for all men, but certainly for a good portion of them. This doesn't mean I'll never open up, but pushing me way past what I am comfortable with will make me explode. When my grandfather died, who I was very close to, I was obviously very sad. I asked my GF to just give me a little space to just sort through my feelings and emotions. I still wanted to see her, just maybe like once or twice a week for a few weeks instead of almost every night. I just wanted quiet for a bit to process everything, but she kept coming over with sweets and stuff for 10 days straight and would not leave me alone for like 12 hours, that is, every day. It got to a point where I had to tell her to go home and not contact me for 2 weeks, just to get some quiet time. I get that she was trying to provide comfort, and I appreciate that, but everyone handles things differently. And she was very clearly not listening to me when I asked her to give me space multiple times. Story 18. We're exhausted and lonely. We've been under pressure all day long. Simple pleasure, just being or doing something outside of our life, is what we crave. We watch sports, fish, stare at a fire, play video games, woodwork, etc., to escape our lives. We're not allowed to buckle under all this stress. We're not averse to escaping with you, but we rarely get to truly escape. You tend to bring the weight of the real world with you for us. Story 19. You too are responsible for how you act when you're drunk. No, you don't get a pass to treat me however you want just because you are the woman. If I did said what you did, you'd be absolutely demolishing me in the group chat with your friends while I beg for forgiveness. Just because you were drunk doesn't mean you shouldn't have to apologize. Story 20. Your man is probably holding a lot in because letting it out just causes you so much worry and thus pain for him that it's really just not worth talking about. Let's just have fun, etc. And that's why guys hang out how they do in a funny, mindless way, lol, because it's a zone they know they don't have to open up unless they want to. This issue is a major mental health issue, and your man needs help because he doesn't know how to ask, doesn't even know he has some issues, is extremely resistant to talk about it, and doctors aren't really good at spotting it or assessing it and even talking about it themselves. Story 21. That it's not cool to discredit or put down a man's existence, lash hard work, just because he's male. I work at an architecture firm, which is a male-dominated industry. My firm is pretty progressive, and they make a point to have diversity amongst staff. Our team is mostly women. Feels like every day I hear them loudly put down men as having it all handed to them and how they're undeserving. Our one male architect honestly works harder than everyone and is rather quiet. I haven't seen him react or respond to the anti male sentiments in the room. I just don't think it's cool to put people down just based on their gender, and it's toxic. Men are kind of in a weird position where many decent men don't defend themselves or express how it makes them feel. By the way, I'm a gay man and on the interior design team, so I'm kind of a bystander here. They're not really talking about me. It's geared towards straight white men exclusively. I have expressed how those comments make me uncomfortable, and they all hear me out respectfully. But that's only because it's gay me saying it. I haven't seen any change or real understanding of the points I make. Story 22. What it's actually like to deal with women. Too many of them think that all women are pretty princesses that never intentionally do something callous, bad, or even counterproductive. This is why they struggle with accountability. The mere idea that a woman has done something wrong and is responsible for her actions is often completely incompatible with their minds. Story 23. It would be nice if more women would initiate a relationship. Having to feel like it's all on me sucks. I found out after the fact that several people I was interested in felt the same way. I'm just shy. I don't blame them or anything. It just sucks. But I also understand how that can backfire for women and potentially put them in dangerous situations. Story 24. Disagreeing with you doesn't mean it needs to turn into an argument where you plan to not leave the argument until I've conceded that you are more correct, which just doesn't end well for the most part. I don't mind saying, I can see where you are coming from, but I can't fully agree with you on this. The reason I can't agree is often something you really don't want to hear given your lack of evidence or proven lack of experience, and BC, you seem to just think or hypothesize that it should be a certain way. We can simply leave it there with simple things that don't affect our lives, or something I'll never participate in. The point of a conversation isn't always to be more right or infallibly correct, as there are multiple ways things can work out and have in the past. We know you hate to be told how it is or that you're wrong, so don't back us into that corner all the time. Story 25. I do not know how to effectively communicate to affect change, how being overweight is less attractive than being at a healthy weight. I'm not here to endorse bulimia or anorexia. I'm here to say being more active and capable is more attractive. All the health arguments in the world won't keep me from being written off as a jerk. At least it feels like that. It's pretty useless to tell your boys this too. Story 26. Recent drama gotcha culture has convinced women to get hard or tough, be aggressive and hostile, and to stake your claim in righteous territory whenever you are the first to find something wrong. Guys don't want that kind of girl, and most girls don't want to have to be that kind of parental chase down truth hunter slash truth prover, etc. with their guy. A girl's power, her feminine power, doesn't lie in that kind reactionary response. There is a way to respond to a guy that is softer, but which is just as firm, making him feel bad about his behavior without having to be angry and bent like that. Story 27. That if you lie and expect me to also somehow perceive the lie, then expect me to play along? It's not going to work, aka getting the hint. If you act nice all the time, saying something a guy did is okay, they'll believe you. If you give positive reinforcement every time I cross your boundaries, then it's not entirely my fault the second time. If you think getting rid of a guy you are flirting with but stopped liking is as simple as being nice, but boring and dry in your texts, he won't get it. If you act nice and say the reason you can't go out with me is because of something you're doing that particular time, of course, I'm going to think that reason was the only thing stopping it and ask again next week. It's not being polite. Polite is please and thank you. Being fake nice is making people think you enjoy their company when you don't. And the resentment you build up in yourself is your fault. Story 28. This is a big one that I haven't seen anyone else mention, but it comes back all the time. Sometimes you're wrong too. Your opinions or perspectives are not objective facts, and sometimes things are your fault. It's not always the rest of the world that's set against you. Everything that's wrong in a relationship isn't exclusively the fault of the man. And you've got to stop feeling sorry for yourself when things don't go the way you wanted, because you did nothing to make it happen. Sometimes, not always, but sometimes you're wrong. None of the women that have been important in my life, from my mother all the way to my soon-to-be ex-wife, have ever been able to take accountability for their actions or admit fault. Everything is my fault. Before anyone says it, I'm scheduled to begin therapy soon. Story 29. You can just be sitting and looking at the horizon, and you're 100% okay, and that the only thing you need is a cold beer to chase your whiskey. We can relax, and not think about anything at all. Also, when we look at the horizon, we think of that one person who pissed us off and are imagining how we would make them stop breathing.
A bit longer than the others, but I have a full story to tell which might help someone. A few years ago, my lady got breast. We live in a country with high-level medical facilities, and the doctor told us at the very first meeting that we were here to heal. No reason to think otherwise, but her cancer is genetic. It means if she kept her breasts, her risk of having a new cancer would be very high. So it was clear for both of us. She got a mastectomy. She now has no breasts. She just has 2 big scars on her chest. For her, she hates her body. She is so scared to wear anything that could reveal her scars. She also gained some weight during the treatment, and she was very pissed at that too. But I love her. I choose to love this woman, and it does not matter if she has lost her breasts, her legs, or her face. I will still love her. I will freaking love those scars until my dying breath, because to me, it means she survived. Story 2. I was always very insecure about my hip dips until my boyfriend told me he loved them. I was standing in front of him one day, and he just said, "I love the way your hips go in a little there. It makes your so cute. It's my favorite." And I was shocked, honestly. I used to spend hours watching videos about how to exercise them away, creams that would fill them in, and other ridiculous horse that would never work. He's somehow found every insecurity I have and has told me how attractive it is before he ever even knew I was insecure. Story 3. I am really into women with weird features, especially noses, like big hooked nose or flat nose with sharp nostrils. Anything outside of the Insta skinny straight nose is super hot by its uniqueness alone. It adds so much beautiful character to a woman's face, and it's really up they're not more appreciated. Story 4. When I was in college, 2 different girls reacted badly when I tried to compliment them on how pretty their freckles were. They both told me they hated them. I'll never understand it. If you have freckles, you have won the pretty face lottery. I used to cover mine up. One time I was out at the local club and another regular leaned in to talk and then stopped, looked at me strangely, and said, "Wow, look at those freckles. Why the hell would you ever cover them up?" Since I stopped covering them up, I have found a lot of people who really like them. Story 5. Literally everything. I tell my woman that all the time. She's 50, has had 3 children. She's also lost a lot of weight in the last year. She complains about her excess skin on her stomach, but to me, she is the most beautiful person I've ever met, and I tell her that daily. Story 6. That natural no makeup look. The first time I saw my girl with no makeup, I was stunned. At first, I was like, "What happened to your eyebrows?" Because they were much lighter compared to her regular color. I thought she shaved them off. I love that fresh look. Shows off her eyes more, and in the right light, skin can be glowing. Story 7. Not sure if this is off topic, but when women post on Instagram, I think seeing stretch marks, cellulite, peach fuzz, or any type of body mark is super attractive. The realness of it is such a turn on, opposed to people who clearly put edits on their pictures. Story 8. Definitely smaller breasts. Find them extremely cute, especially naturally proportioned to the chest, and it's nice to actually be able to grasp something properly in your hand. I really hate seeing comments all over women's spaces too about how much it depresses them and they want to get surgery and stuff. Don't blame them at all given how society is, but it sucks for me personally because they never ever believe you. They just think you're lying, which makes them even more insecure. Story 9. The girl I'm talking to right now, with the hope to date and then marry later on, always warns me before we hug that she's a little sweaty, and that she's self-conscious about it. I'm like, "Hun, it's 80 degrees in the PNW. We're all a little sweaty. I'm not saying that I want full-on BO all the time. Hygiene is important. But a little bit here and there makes the heat worthwhile." Story 10. Wait. When my wife and I started dating in 2007, she was 15 and I was 17, she squeezed into a size 0 prom dress. She now wears a 10 to 12, 16 years later. In that time, she's gone through school, carried 4 children, 2 of our own, and she was a surrogate twice, and has put on about 50 pounds since we were teenagers. Now, at age 32 to 33, I find her just as beautiful as I did when we were kids. I just wish she'd believe me when I told her. Story 11. Haven't seen it, so I adore when a plus-size woman's arms match the curve. My fiance is so worried about her arms, but she just has soft, strong arms. She doesn't have any flab. They are perfectly proportioned to her cute and curvaceous body. I always hear girls worried about their arms, but I know y'all chefs in the kitchen, and you've got the best hugs. Story 12. Dark-haired women. I know blondes are usually the default most men like, but for some reason, I find natural dark hair very beautiful and attractive. That, and some chunk in the thighs, waist, and hips. Story 13. Honestly, people are just different flavors for me. Whether you jiggle or you don't, whether you tower over me or I can rest my chin atop your head. No matter what you think about yourself, there is a bunch of people out there super into whatever flavor you happen to be. Story 14. I just got into an argument with her while we were both falling asleep the other night. She said her boobs were just okay. Small, but okay. Not great. For context, she is a smaller A-cup. In my half-asleep state, I got angry. I said they were spectacular. She said no, they weren't. I got obstinately defiant and just said, "You're entitled to your opinion, but you won't be changing mine. They're perfect." She acquiesced, and we fell asleep. I meant every word. They are so perfect. Every inch of her whole body is. I could seriously just stare at her for hours and be in guy bliss. Story 15. Having a dumb, awful, hilarious laugh is unbelievably attractive. It carries so much character with it, so much individuality and uniqueness. I want to hear a honk from the next room and know she just saw something funny. Story 16. The way they move. Not any feature or body part specifically, but the way the whole female body moves. Science has shown that people can differentiate men from women in a second or two at the limit of visibility just by the way they move. So can dogs and horses. So many women that are so insecure about parts of themselves feel forced to guard or hide that part. This makes them unbalanced, as their minds are probably focused on concealment or protection. They say they hate the way they walk, or they are clumsy. They don't walk like those girls in the adverts. Well, from where I'm standing, I saw the motion of a beautiful, graceful female as she stepped, turned, dipped, and posed. I saw energy and vitality, coordination and strength. I saw beauty, and I saw power. I probably saw it from 500 meters away and enjoyed watching every meter as she approached on the path between us. I saw a woman, and my brain made me pay attention. That smile on my face is because I'm old enough to know every woman has insecurities. But I always smile at the way every woman moves, not through desire, but as an act of celebration. Story 17. Gray hair? Love it. Overweight or fat? Who cares? It's about the totality of you, not some singular feature. I have been with the same woman since 1982. She was a thin drop, dead, gorgeous woman. Now she is in her 60s, and time will have its way. When she kisses me, my heart still pounds like it wants to burst out of my chest. I think when you vibe with someone, something magical happens. For me, it has never gone away. Your mirror does not show how you look to someone who connects with you. Story 18. A good size, unique nose. Too many women think they need a dainty little button nose or a straight, tiny nose. They want to look like anime or video game characters for some reason, and that's just boring and bland. Pug noses, Roman noses, bold noses, crooked noses. Variety is nice in people, and believe it or not, your natural nose is somebody's. Don't get a nose job. Don't use that Instagram filter. Be proud of your unique proboscis. Just look at Jennifer Grey. She was unique and beautiful with a bold nose in the 80s. Then she got a nose job to look more like every other headshot in Hollywood, and people lost interest. Her career hit a major roadblock because she was unrecognizable with her new, boring, perfect nose. She was still beautiful, but looked average beautiful instead of unique beautiful. Story 19. I don't know. I love women's bodies. It's hard to pick something, but I had one girlfriend who was short and thick. She was self-conscious about her thighs, but I absolutely loved them. Dated another girl who was skinny, and I loved how her hip bones made a V towards her pelvis, and her bony collarbone, and her elbows. I had an ex who was a soccer player, and she had broad shoulders and could lift more than me. I loved it. I had an ex with dark hair and thick eyebrows. She hated them, but it was one of my favorite features of hers. Ladies, you all have something you hate that we love, especially if you're in love. Like there could be nothing ugly about you. I've given up on finding love, but I will never not appreciate every inch. Story 20. Anything that isn't common. I'm sorry, I don't know how to phrase it, but hear me out. I was immensely, wholeheartedly, deeply, everythingly in love with this girl. She had a minor accident which left a mark on her skin over the cheekbone. Zygomatic bone. She hated it. A lot. But I always loved it. It looked beautiful. She always thought of it as an imperfection. I always thought of it as perfection. Story 21. It's not a thing, but it's the mindset that's wrong for me. The birthmark, mole, the fact that you can hyperextend your elbows. The thing that makes you unique is my thing, and if you let me in enough to show it, that is what is attractive to me. Beauty is one thing, but being secure enough to be vulnerable is another. Story 22. Leg hair and body hair in general. I think it's messed up how women get drilled with the idea that leg hair is unsightly or not feminine or that men hate it. I've had several girlfriends who didn't really shave their legs, and I loved the feeling of running my hands over the thin wispy hairs most women grow on their legs. A lot of my male friends feel similarly. Also, I think if women rock arm hair, armpit hair, unibrows, even some upper lip hair, etc., and are just comfortable and unapologetic about it, I just find that degree of confidence very sexy and magnetic. But really, if I'm just generally attracted to a woman, which usually is like a style, vibes, shared interest, energy-based thing, I just couldn't imagine being turned off by anything about her body. In fact, if she has some unique feature like a big nose or a snaggletooth or a big birthmark, I think that's cute and endearing. For example, I dated a woman with a pretty sizable port wine stained birthmark on her face, and I just thought it was so beautiful because it was so different, and she was totally confident and comfortable with it. Story 23. I do not know a single guy who actually prefers the Barbie bimbo all bleached and full of plastic over a real natural woman. My wife and I celebrated her first full-length gray hair yesterday. I can't wait to see her hair get salty. It's the next chapter in her beauty. A couple of years ago, she switched to trimming over shaving her hair because she was over the hassle. She was afraid I wouldn't approve. I told her I prefer it. Makes her feel like a woman instead of a girl. Just be yourself. No story goes on forever. I hope you all get to find someone who wants to grow old with you and embraces all the things that come along with that. Story 24. My first real girlfriend had a thing I've only seen in anime. She had one pointy canine that would peek over the top of her bottom lip. It was very hard to notice as you had to be near her face to see it, but it was darling. I feel like I fell in love with how cute it was. I shouldn't have said anything. I told her, and she got super self-conscious and said at first I was lying to make her feel bad. High school was whack, man. Then, when I kept on and brought her real close to a mirror, she flipped out and hated it. She said no one had ever told her about it, and for those 15 years she was alive, she never noticed. I didn't believe her at first, but after reflection, you had to be close, on her right side, to see it. Alexandria, it was truly adorable. Story 25. I love lines on the face. I know women think they need to have smooth skin all over, but I love seeing the character of a person shown on how they express themselves facially. Show me lines on your head from when you frown or you think. Show me crow's feet from when you smile. Show me cheeks and eyes that have known long nights and hard work. I love seeing where you've been in your face. Story 26. I'm not a man, but my wife is blind and super self-conscious about her wandering eyes, nystagmus, because she's been teased and shamed for them in the past. I think they're beautiful and look like they're dancing. Like, you round a corner and accidentally catch a girl dancing by herself because she thinks she's alone. So you hide around the corner as to not interrupt and keep watching because it's so cute. Story 27. I haven't seen anyone mention height on here yet. A lot of tall women are insecure about their height, and a lot of average or shorter guys won't date women who are noticeably taller than them because it makes them feel insecure. But I'm a tall guy, and if I could find a woman taller than me, I'd marry her in a heartbeat. Story 28. Random hairs, stretch marks, blemishes, a bit of belly. They are bodies, and us men, while insecure and having our own issues, tend to get away with much more. A lot of women experience criticism or bullying from their especially early boyfriends because they are dating insecure, controlling people. Those comments have nothing to do with looks. They are a method of control and putting down someone so they don't feel lovable, so they would stay with that person. Because the more you put someone down, the more likely they are not to feel worthy of anything better. It's terrible. And for the rest of us, we should do our best to help heal those scars with acceptance and love and endless kisses on those shame-inducing little insignificant details that are nothing but bodies doing body things. Story 29. I love love handles. I love squeezing them, but I understand the insecurity behind this. So many times I am asked to stop, and I do. That and the fat of a woman's underarm. I love putting my arm around my girl and reach around for the underarm and give it a good old squeeze. Yes, I love my plus-size women. Story 30. Several years ago, I was at the top of some stairs leading down a cliff to the ocean in a town. It may have been Carpinteria, California, or somewhere around there. I saw a 35-ish-year-old, fit, tanned brunette woman in tight spandex shorts and a sports top, fully exposed midsection. Her belly had a big scar from navel down, so a major abdominal surgery scar or an old-school long C-section scar. Thick, too. Whatever it was, she didn't hide it, and she walked so confidently. I was in awe. She must have been through hell, but it didn't defeat her. In a similar vein, my wife sometimes has felt self-conscious about her stretch marks and her belly, but I don't see anything bad about them. I see the sacrifices she made for our children and love her more for them. Be unapologetic about scars and stretch marks. Quiet confidence is everything and makes it a non-issue. People who understand will appreciate you. Story 31. A bit late to the party, but here's my opinion. I've been with my wife for nearly 15 years. High school sweethearts and married for 2 years. I know every inch of her intimately. Every little detail. Freckles, dots, moles, scars, stretch marks, you name it. They're my favorite. All those little things she hates about herself, I adore. Her own perceived imperfections are my perfection. I don't know how to explain it any better than this. Ladies, you will find a man one day that doesn't love you in spite of your imperfections. He will love you because of them. Story 32. My girlfriend hates that little bit of belly fat that can only be described as a tummy. But I love it. It looks cute and feels great to rest my hand on and caress. Entirely flat, skinny bellies aren't my thing. The natural look of a little bit of belly is cute as hell. Story 33. Their face with no makeup. And I do mean no makeup, not natural makeup. I know the difference. Seeing that natural complexion with a little bit of dark under the eyes hits me in my soul. It's like I'm really getting to see you instead of the social mask we wear to blend in. And it's beautiful in a profound way that no cosmetic can match. Story 34. Curly-haired girls can often hate their curls and wish for them to be straight, since as a society, we've historically branded curly hair as messy or unruly. I love curls though. They're just as beautiful as straight hair. It is a shame there's just so many hairdressers without a clue of how to work with them. Pale-skinned redheads are often branded as ugly by the media, especially since Hollywood tends to either race-swap redhead characters or cast blondes and brunettes wearing wigs or dyed hair. I have a ginger friend who was in the industry in the 2000s, and she had to do the most elaborate fake tanning process to keep her job. I think Jessica Chastain and Sadie Sink are the only prominent gingers in the industry. although Liv Hewson is on her way up. And poor Nicola Roberts of Girls Aloud was called ugly and hideous by the press when she was only 17 because of her pale skin and red hair. But all skin tones are beautiful to me. Story 35. The I just woke up look. Every woman I've been with has been baffled that I find her attractive right away in the morning. But I haven't even cleaned up yet. Yeah, that's the point. This is your most relaxed and yourself I'll ever see you. This is extremely intimate and comforting. I love it.